Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. Welcome to the cabin. We are headed in there. Look, we've got some groundbreaking, some earth-shattering, some seismic shifts in the reselling world that people have been talking about for the last couple of weeks now. And I'm going to give a little bit of a different twist on it, by the way, in case you're wondering why I have stuff hanging up right there. Those are some items I bought last week. I could not resist them, even though they had a smell to them, which I normally pass. And those right there, it's not a smoky smell, it's more like a campy smell. And so I figured I'd hang them up today and get that done. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're gonna talk about some things that sold out of the eBay shed here, out of the Commonwealth cabin, and two big issues. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna give you a little bit of a different twist on the Mercari thing and some other things that I hope will be interesting to you. And before you turn off this video and say, I've already heard the Mercari story 5 times by now on other people's channels, I really do think that there are some much bigger lessons that we can learn from this story and some consequences to this decision. And I think you're going to be interested in some of this stuff. I certainly hope so, but I've got a couple things to pull and we're going to mix this in throughout the whole video. And I might throw in just a tiny bit more of FedEx stuff too, because people have been talking about that like crazy. I usually don't like to do those videos the day after something happens. I like to dig into it a little bit, and that's what I've done. But some of my initial thoughts were proving to be fairly correct. So this is a Disneyland Resort bobblehead that I got from a sale. Matter of fact, I don't know when this is coming out, but if it's before April 19th here, this sale where we got all that other stuff is going to be over on Whatnot. We're doing all those giveaways. But this cool little Mickey Disneyland Resort bobblehead sold for $18 plus shipping. Let me show you one more sale that I absolutely love before we dip into this Mercari stuff here. It is this guy right here, and I talked about it on the podcast last week, but this sale right here, I don't think this one's come out on the Picker channel, but it's due to here pretty quick. Little MCM Sunburst. I don't even know if the branding or anything on it, but when I saw this, I'm like, holy moly. Matter of fact, I was pretty disappointed because this particular sale had some stuff that I wanted that they ended up not selling to me because the guy said, oh, that wasn't supposed to be for sale. But I got this, and this was one of the big winners. Paid a couple of bucks. I'm not quite sure. It didn't matter because I knew it would sell. I probably could have got more for it, to be honest. But if you ever see those sunburst patterns and the MCM stuff, they go for good money. This thing went very quickly for $85 plus shipping, and it sold internationally. So like I said, there's been a lot of folks who put out Mercari videos, and a lot of you don't even sell on Mercari, so you don't think you care about this topic. But I think my take on this might make some of you rethink some things you do in your reselling business, even if you don't sell on Mercari. And we do sell on Mercari. We make some sales over there. Might even have one today. I know we have some cross-listing sales today. So to go over what you already know from some of these other videos, they've shifted to selling fees. So instead of having the seller pay fees, the buyer is now going to pay fees. 10%, plus they're also going to pay a 50% service fee, and they pay the 2.9% processing fee as well. So all the fees are going to them. They're paying the taxes like they normally would and the shipping and all that. The other big change is that they're going to guarantee returns for those sellers. You know, they're paying that much more. They should at least let the buyers return things. That scares sellers, of course. Doesn't really scare me. It's nothing new. It's kind of the way the world's gone for a while. I was hoping to see a few companies reverse that, but it doesn't look like Mercari is. I also don't see that as the end of the world, but I can see from some people's point of view how it could be. I will say that Mercari is paying to have the item returned as opposed to you paying to have the item returned, which a lot of you folks do on eBay. We do as well. And of course, the one thing that I've seen so many people get upset about is the fact that now as buyers, to get your money out, they're charging you $2 to get your money out of Mercari, put it in your bank account, for instance. And I want to talk about that a little bit as well, but not really as it relates to this decision by Mercari, but more as it relates to how we run our reselling businesses. I'm hoping I'm not going to be able to do it. I sold 3, wait a minute, is this Star Trek or Star Wars? I think it's Star Wars. I hope it is, because that's all I got up there. 3 keepsake ornaments, Darth Vader, Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, and one more right here. I believe these all 3 go together. This is Qui-Gon Jinn as well. Just double check that I had the right ones. $26.55 plus shipping. So before I get into the details here and talk about how it can affect us and the thought process behind what Mercari is doing, and I think that's the bigger story than the actual details and the fees, and is it going to be better for resellers or not better for resellers? I want to say a couple things. The first is Mercari itself is a different type of platform, in my opinion. It's not designed for the professional reseller. It's really designed to attract casual sellers and casual buyers. Having said that, there's a lot of professional resellers, you know, cross-listers and folks like that who sell on Mercari, so this has a big effect on people like us. Now, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag a little bit before I talk about this. I think this is largely a good thing, and that might make some people mad. Now, there's one small portion of people in the reselling business I think this is a bad thing for. I'll get to that in a second, but I've got to find a rangefinder really quick. I might turn this off. All right, I found it. It's a Tour Trek rangefinder. Woo! For the golf course. Almost broke my neck. And it sold for $53.95 plus shipping. So the group of people, this one might, yeah, this one went to a viewer. So the folks that might really be the losers in this, as far as resellers go, would be the folks who, I know this seems odd to some of y'all, but there's a group of resellers who don't ever source outside of their own home. They only source from in their home. They only source online, whether that's buying from, you know, Goodwill auction sites or auction sites high bid, or buying from eBay to eBay, or eBay to Amazon, or Mercari to eBay. And that happens more than you might think. I know quite a few folks who do that. Those would be the losers in this scenario, in my mind, if they're not sellers on Mercari. And there are a few folks out there like that. So they would definitely lose. If you're only buying on Mercari to sell it on eBay, for instance, this is probably not good for you. That rangefinder went to Tom. So Tom, thank you. Big fan of the channel. First purchase. Could I get a sticker if you have them? We always throw the little stickers in every single order. Tom, I appreciate it. And happy golfing out there. The weather outside is perfect for some golf today. Now, the fact that there are folks who source from Mercari to eBay might give you an idea of why I say, look, this is more of a casual reselling platform. There are folks out there that just want to get rid of stuff. It's like their garage sale online, as opposed to, you know, having a garage sale or going through meticulously and selling one-offs. A lot of times they put things in giant lots just to get them out and to get some money, and resellers buy that stuff up and sell it off on other platforms. All right, I gotta find this one. It's a Dooney and Burke bag. And there it is right there. This is a nice little sale. And I love selling Dooney and Burke. I heard somebody the other day say Dooney and Burke doesn't sell. I'm like, it always sells for me. I mean, obviously it depends on which item it is, but this one sold for a bunch. 65 bucks, I think. $67.45 plus shipping. Now, before I made this video, I wanted to watch a few other folks talk about some of this stuff, and I was a little surprised that one person actually had a bit of my take. Not quite as it applies to us as resellers, but they had an interesting take. My buddy Knobloch, Walter Blake Knobloch, did a video, and he made a point that I was going to make and be the smart guy who makes the point, but I think he made it first. And like I said, of course, other folks did videos on this, and I think they're pretty much right. I think Becky Park did one that was really good. I didn't watch Dave's because I knew that was going to be reactionary as opposed to research-based. Sorry, Dave, I love you. Any rate, look, here's a couple things that I think I just have to say before I get into this. One is, here's one of the reasons I think this was a very good decision. Marketing is expensive, and I don't think this is why they made the decision. I'm going to get into why I think the real reason behind it is, and how it informs us on how we should act all the time, in my opinion. But one of the things they did, I think, unintentionally, maybe it was if it was an intentional move, then, you know, kudos to Mercari, is look at all the free advertising they're getting. I mean, I get things from Mercari all the time saying, hey, you know, would you want to do an inclusion ad, or do you want to do a dedicated video and advertise Mercari and tell people they should sell Mercari? I usually turn it down because it's just too related to what I do every day to keep credibility, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I should take it. It's a decent amount of money. But at any rate, I think that they got a ton of press out of this. And there is a certain amount of people who think, oh, no fees, and they didn't sell on Mercari. And they're like, oh, now I'm going to sell on Mercari because there's no fees. Now, of course, the other side of the ledger, you've got the folks that want to complain about the $2 fee to get your money out. And, I get that. We'll talk about that too. And then, of course, the buyer side of it, somebody's going to pay these fees, right? They're not doing this stuff for altruism. And so there's going to be, You know, a $10 item that you buy over there might cost you 18 bucks when it's all, well, maybe not that much, but you get the point. It's going to cost the buyers quite a bit more. So are you going to have to lower the cost of an item to make it palatable for people? And that may be just an offset, and then they're collecting the $2 thing all the time, or a lot more than they used to. I don't think that's the big play here, though. Let me pull another item, and then we'll talk about the not so big losers, right? The losers in this I already said. The big loser in it is, of course, the folks who source over there. And then there's like levels of, I still think everybody else gains from this, but levels of gaining from this. Then we'll talk about what is Mercari's big play and how does that inform us on how we should act. Plus one more interesting take on this that I initially had thought, and somebody else reconfirmed it for me, and I want to mention them as well. So this is some GE walkie-talkies right here, a little old school, cool design with red and yellow. I like those a lot. I think they sold for 38 bucks. Plus shipping, pay $2. So of course the groups are the people who buy over there and don't resell over there at all. They're sourcing for other sites, and buyers themselves, but who aren't resellers. But I'm not talking to people who aren't resellers, so to speak here. I suppose there could be some of those folks out there. But resellers who need the money like right now, you know, instead of living paycheck to paycheck, they're living sale to sale. As soon as they make a sale, they take that stuff out. You know, that's going to hurt you a little bit for sure. So it would hurt those people a lot more. People that sell over there but don't need the money immediately, they can wait for 2 weeks or into the month and withdraw the money once a month. It's $2. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't hurt them too bad either. And then there's the folks who buy and sell over there and who have decided, this leads to the point I'm going to make at the end here about this other creator who made a point that I think is very relevant, which is why we have to wait and see on this to see how it really matters for resellers and for the site itself. And that's the folks who buy over there after they've sold over there. So they're using those funds without ever withdrawing them at all. And this might come as a surprise to you, but, and I'm not saying this is the best way to do things, actually. It's actually not. I'm going to make a counterpoint a little bit later saying this isn't really how you should do it, but that's how I use Mercari. We sell over there on Mercari. We don't have tons of sales, but we do sell over there on Mercari. And I never withdraw money from Mercari. Never. And I know that seems crazy, and I'm going to speak against doing that, but I do it for a specific reason. I use it as like a slush Christmas fund for my wife. You know, we buy so much on eBay, and sometimes she wants to buy gifts for me on eBay, and she doesn't want me to know what that gift is, you know, birthday gift or Christmas gift or something. And so she buys it on Mercari. So I never check the Mercari stuff for purchases. She knows that, so it's a way to surprise me with something. And I just leave all that money in there, and she spends it every year. Mostly around Christmas time, she gets on there and buys gifts for folks. We do this on eBay a ton too. But that's why I don't withdraw over there. And that's going to lead me to why I really think Mercari is doing this. And of course, most of you know that there's some decent amount of money to be made in reselling, and there is certainly money to be made for these platforms with fees on reselling. And yes, it's hard to believe, but there is money to be made even in old 8-tracks. I looked through a whole box of 8-tracks down there at Peaches to Beaches, and I only found 2 that were money makers, and this was a good one for $1. And it's the Beatles Yellow Submarine, but this is a different cover for it. And it sold for $23.75 plus shipping. Most of the time, it's only the ones that are quadraphonic. See how this one has that notch right there? And this one doesn't. You look for the ones that have that notch. A lot of times you have a winner, but you can't find them very often. But sometimes you find some cool ones. $23.75 plus shipping. A lot of you folks out there who know anything at all about finance know that there is a lot of money to be made in money itself. And these changes, in my opinion, are allowing a much bigger pool of money to exist within Mercari. And you can make money off of money, which is how we should think as resellers. I'll get to that in a minute, but let's look at Mercari. So not only was it a good publicity move, in my opinion, look at all the news out there on Mercari the last few weeks. It's everywhere. And it also sets Mercari aside as being a little different. You know, in the land of chimpanzees, I was a monkey, right? And it is different. And it can create at least a certain community of people that are dedicated to that niche, to that platform, whatever. So I think it was a good move. But the real reason is that essentially they want to act as a bank in many, many ways. And a lot of these sites, this was a Japanese-owned company, of course, they do many, many other things than just, you know, collecting fees on reselling. And I'm not going to get into all that with Mercari because you can look it all up and figure it all out. But this is the point that Knobloch made over there, is there is so much money to be made in holding other people's money. Even if it's just for a day or 2 days more or 3 days more, it increases that capital pool in which they can loan it out, use it for other purposes. And you got to have so much set aside, if you know banking rules and laws, so much set aside in order to provide access to it for other people. I mean, just like a bank works, right? You know, the borrower is servant to the lender. If at all possible in your life, you want to become that lender. And that's what I'm going to get to in just a second. I think for some of us who have the ability and the opportunity, and if you don't yet, you should be working towards that. Your money should be working for you. It's why eBay made this shift to managed payments. There's a lot of money in money. Why let PayPal make that money when eBay can make that money? Even if it's holding your money for a segment of a day. You know, I get paid out weekly on eBay. I know a lot of folks who get paid out more or less. I think there's a trade-off in all of it, you know, extra bookkeeping for the increased transactions versus the interest you could possibly make if you're taking that money and putting it away. I'm going to grab this item and then I'm going to clean up the Mercari side of this, and then we're going to get to, I guess, some suggestions for some folks out there. A lot of you do this already, and how this should really inform us, and we should take the lead from Mercari in some ways. Not just Mercari, but almost every business for that matter. This Longaberger basket, I don't buy a ton. I've tripped over that box twice now. I don't buy a ton of Longaberger because people who are selling Longaberger a lot of times know that it was expensive and they overvalue it compared to what it's really worth. This one sold for $14.95 plus shipping, Collectors Club. And it sold to, is it Johnny or Joni? I'm still enjoying you doing my shopping for me. Thank you. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's in good shape. We'll get it shipped off to you. Now, my initial reaction to this was, man, is this how, you know, is this going to really take a bite out of the buyer pool over there on Mercari? The original, you know, I figured I'd wait and see what a lot of real hardcore Mercari sellers are saying and get some of their reactions. And a lot of the initial feedback I got was, hey, sales are just as normal as they've ever been. I didn't even reduce my prices by 10% or whatever. And I'm like, oh, interesting. But I thought, you know, how long is that going to last? Are they going to have trouble getting new people? Are people going to figure it out slowly and be like, wait a minute, I'm getting screwed over here? And I got one interesting take, and I've never watched your show before, but the magical world of thrifting over here, because she looks like she's a Mercari seller, sells quite a bit over there. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch this video too. And she said, hey, sales are normal, but it seems maybe there is a certain segment of the people who are sellers over there who have that money built up and don't want to pay that fee to get it out. You know, it's like going to the ATM, right? If I'm going to go to the ATM that's not my bank's ATM, I'm not taking out 40 bucks. You know, I'm taking out as much as I possibly can because it reduces the percentage that fee is compared to how much money I'm taking out. And so people are pretty savvy with that kind of stuff. Not all people, but a lot of people realize that those small things add up to big money over a long period of time, and that's what's important. But I think she made a good point, which is, hey, we need to wait and see. Maybe these people are over there just using up their funds as opposed to paying those fees to take it out, and maybe this will hurt in the long run, but maybe it won't. So it's kind of a wait and see approach. I thought that was a good take on it as well. Speaking of selling on other sites, I made a Bonanza sale, and this one's Uniden Bearcat twin turbo handheld scanners, like walkie-talkie type things. I'll put a picture over here if I can remember to. If you don't see one, I forgot and wasn't somewhere where I had internet. But point being here that I made a couple sales. I did not ship. I'm not shipping them out today because I shipped them out yesterday. I don't actually have them in hand because they're at the post office. So any rate, and I think I might have another cross-listing sale here in just a second. But you know, there was quite a hubbub, if you remember way back when eBay changed to that managed payment system. I actually love it. I think it's awesome to not have to deal with two different places plus the mess that you can get into with PayPal, with people doing chargebacks through PayPal and they're not connected to eBay, and then they got to communicate. It's just a pain in the butt. But make no mistake about it, it was because of the ability to hold people's money and the transaction fees that eBay was missing out on. They figured they'd be served better as both a bank and a reselling platform, and they certainly are. There's no doubt about it. But that is also true of us. And I've made the suggestion on a video a couple weeks ago, or a week, I don't know when it was, a while ago, where I think that I know that folks, if you're any kind of serious reseller at all, you should have your own separate bank account for reselling and only use it for reselling and nothing else. You should have the discipline, if possible, and I know it's difficult for some folks, to be able to pay yourself a set salary and to keep that consistent, and anything above that, just build it up in that bank account. But what I didn't mention is the other piece of the puzzle. And this is really, really true. You know, if you've been watching me for a while, I absolutely abhor debt. I hate it. So it's how I've been able to make a living my whole life, and with very little income, to be perfectly honest with you, for 20 years of teaching and my wife not working outside the home. And I still live a pretty comfortable life, even before the YouTube revenue and all that, because I just would do anything to not incur debt. I hate money working against me. And that is what I'm talking about here. So we also have a separate bank account. I also hate anybody holding my money, including the IRS, holding more money than they need to be holding. So I pay the very minimum throughout the year and all the taxes I can pay, and I put all of that aside. Not just that money, but any money over the limit that I have in my business bank account that I build it up to, enough to pay me and enough to have money to source and to run my business and to invest in my business. But I try to get over that limit. And when I get over that limit in good selling months, in the 3 months of the year where I don't source, I take all that money and I put it in an interest-bearing account. And some people just might think, oh, that's just impossible for me. And I get it. I totally get it. It takes a lot of discipline, and it takes not being able to have to live off of every single dime. But if it is at all possible, I highly suggest that you do it out there, because when you get money working for you as opposed to against you, you're finally going in the right direction. I was at a sale in Roanoke where a lady had everything, I say overpriced, and people get offended by that, but overpriced for a reseller to make money on. But I found this sitting there for $2, and I'm like, well, I can buy that thing. I couldn't buy anything else. And there was none listed on eBay, but similar style stuff I've sold before. And this one sold, cross listing sale though, shout out, lives perfectly, code Commonwealth, 30% off. I always say 15, but it's 30% off your first month. And this one sold for $31.67 plus shipping. I hate getting into this stuff, but I'm passionate about it. Like, for instance, and I told my son this years ago, and he did it, and I'm so proud of him. But when I was literally living like day to day on stuff and just counting the days till my teaching paycheck would come in, or my stipend for baseball, or I'd drive a bus because I could make $16 an hour extra driving a bus. I mean, we were pinching pennies to get by. But even back then, I had set up, say, a Roth IRA account, and I put just a tiny amount of money in it. But having it set up and ready to go so that when your income increased, you're able to contribute a little bit more and to up that consistency, you know, automatic withdrawals into it. And as my income grew, I was able to, it was already set up, I was able to push it up even higher. So I would really, really encourage folks out there, not only to have a separate bank, you know, have your personal bank account and pay yourself out of your business bank account. I know that's hard for some folks, but in addition, also have an interest-bearing account, preferably not something that is tiny and whatever, but that may be where you start, because those interest rates are minuscule when you get those accounts. But if you can ever build it up where you can get, you know, a CD account even, I know that's tough for some folks. I'm not talking about an investment account. I'm still talking about your business account. You could tap into that money. And it helps so much when it comes to be tax season and you have that money already set aside. You're doing it systematically in a disciplined way, and you're making the interest off of it as opposed to letting the IRS make the interest off of it. I would set it up, even if you can put a tiny amount in there, whatever they need you to have in order to be able to open the thing. I would figure out a way to do it, because money makes money. And that is a fact in every single business out there. You'd be surprised and shocked at how much money Walmart makes on the money that Walmart makes, if you know what I mean. I got a buddy in here. He's definitely a borrower. Who never gives anything back, except for love. Back to the eBay sales. This one I picked up for $2. I was actually going to give one to Turner because I thought he just had a wired mouse. So I paid $2 for him, and I knew they wouldn't sell for much, and I was going to keep them, but they sold for $11, so I figured, what the heck, I'll just sell them. $10.95 plus shipping, so a little profit right there. And I sold some Crocs that have been listed for a while. I picked up for $2. Not the greatest deal in the world, but they sold for $20 free shipping, so not a ton of profit, but there's still profit. Our John Reagan is getting ready to go to Regions. It's in Pennsylvania, isn't it? Yeah. You getting excited or nervous?
Both.
Very cool. All right, CommonwealthPicker.com sales. What you got?
Jenny got a Trash Cash shirt and a Hillbilly sticker, and then Kevin and Larry also got a Hillbilly sticker.
All right, Hillbilly stickers are running super duper low, by the way. So thank you all to all of you for buying from Reagan. Thank you.
Bye, and don't forget to get your stickers at CommonwealthPicker.com.
Back to the cameras, and let me know out there, do you have well, a lot of you told me this in the previous video, but you know, your personal bank account, a business bank account, and a business savings account? And if you do you use it? Do you have that discipline? Do you have that ability to use it? Because I've been doing it now for quite a while, I have created systems that force myself into using it. I'm finally now, no pun intended, I guess pun intended, it's finally paying the dividends for it. And so if you are one of those folks that is literally living day to day, week to week, sale to sale to make a living, I still would encourage you to set up the system so that if and when the money, and then you set it up as a goal, comes in and you have a windfall of some sort, you can start the process. So this is a Polaroid. Is this a 600? I think that's what it is. Yeah, 600 one step. And these don't go for a ton, but they go for something, $34.95 plus shipping. I think systems are so important because money can make money. And whether it's, look, think about this. All the people that were complaining about or are complaining about the Mercari stuff, that eBay thing of 10 cents more transaction fee on anything over $10. If you sell 100 things a month, that's $10 more right there. That's probably far more than any Mercari thing's going to cost you. $10 a month, $120 a year, $1,200 every 10 year, and the opportunity cost of that money making money. These are little things we shouldn't necessarily complain about. It's kind of the cost of doing business, but at the same time, it should show you the power of making small shifts in your business and creating systems, because money, even little bits over time, can really add up, including the tiny bit of interest you can make on money that you're setting aside to do things you have to do, like pay taxes, for instance. And I think it's important. I think it's something people should look at. This is a Sony PlayStation controller. Like, for instance, we bit the bullet and sold through a bunch of stuff. We sold it on Dibdit, a bunch of video game stuff, so that we could start to process stuff as it came in, as opposed to selling it off cheaper. And it was a strategic decision, and I think it's starting to pay off for us. This little controller right here sold for $24.95 plus shipping. It sold to Caden. He says, I'm sure this item would have sold anyways, but some people will probably still call it a fake sale. I sell mostly video games and electronics on eBay part-time and install fiber optic internet as my full-time job. Very cool. Feel free to shout out my eBay store, Kman0109. We still have snow coming down over here in northern Utah, so garage sales still haven't started up for the year. I wish you and your family the best. Thanks for the great advice, and keep on keeping on. Appreciate that very much. Hope you enjoy that controller. I really have got to clean up my mess here in the walkway. I keep tripping over stuff, so let's see here. What am I coming over here? Oh, the Rescuers. Rescuers sold again. I don't put my 30% off sales on forever, by the way. So this was on 30% off, but it came off, and I made a sale, which is cool. The Rescuers ornaments back at $20 plus shipping, and we'll probably put them on clearance again soon because they meet the criteria for it. And I really, truly am a believer in that, not that you should pinch pennies all the time. Sometimes time is money, and there's a lot of things that I do that I sacrifice those small amounts of money for the bigger picture. So there's a two-way street here. But I always talk about multi-quantity stuff. I seek it out and I try to find it. And this right here is an example. We've been selling these forever. Sold another one $10, $9.95 or $9.99, I think. Free shipping. It's not a ton of profit, but it's one listing over and over and over again. It pays off, and it makes sense economically because of the speed of shipping an item like that. All right, y'all, Turner's got some Commonwealth comedy. We've been out here taking some BP. Now we're going to work on some base running drills. So what's your comedy today, bud?
What did the baseball glove say to the ball?
What did the baseball glove say to the ball? I don't know.
Catch you later.
Thanks, bud.
Bye.
I looked on my list, and I have been neglecting to give a thank you to Wolfman Goodies, who gave us a, what do they call it, a super thanks or something, just normally down in the comments. They gave us $25, which was incredibly generous. So Wolfman Goodies, do you have a YouTube channel? Maybe I have to check that out. But we do appreciate that. And I think it may have even been on the Picker channel. But anyway, I just want to thank you for that. And that doesn't happen very often. And we don't do memberships over here, and we don't do lives and do super chats and all that. So that was very much appreciated. You know, you also got to weigh out time when you're talking about when in doubt, part it out type stuff. And when you part stuff out, is it worth the time of parting it out? This one we decided it was. Toy train wooden bridges. And we lotted this one out for $18.95 plus shipping. All right, y'all, we're filming on the road today because Turner has a baseball tournament. But Reagan hadn't thanked these folks who got something from CommonwealthPicker.com. What did they get?
Courtney got a hillbilly sticker. Chris got a number 3. Jeff got a number 3 and a hillbilly. Richard got 2 hillbilly stickers, and so did Holly.
And that's Richard Otnip Drop Flips. And Courtney is Robin's Nest, I think. I'm pretty sure. And Chris, you're always a great supporter of us. So thank you all for buying the Enema Men and the hillbilly stickers and all that stuff. We appreciate it.
Bye, and don't forget to get your sticker at CommonwealthPicker.com.
And there is all kinds of stuff like that in the reselling business where you got to really kind of think, where's your time best spent? And how do you deal with certain things, even cutting bait and getting rid of things, having a garage sale, donating things. Put your time in where the money is. And even in accounting, I talk about my reseller Genie, code Commonwealth, 15% off. You know, for me, that is a money maker, even though it's an expense, because I'm so bad at that stuff and I do such a poor job with it that it costs me on my taxes, but it also costs me time trying to do it. And the amount of money that people can spend on stuff like that might be a money maker for you. And for some people, it's not a money maker because you've got systems down, you like it, you enjoy it, you're good at it, and it might be an expense for you. So you really got to weigh that stuff pretty carefully. Just same thing. We talk about I use List Perfectly, of course. And sometimes using a cross-listing service for some people might be a bad decision. Sometimes it might be a great decision. It depends so much on different things, including your own personality. And I think we all have to make those decisions. But tell me what you think out there about Macquarie. I mentioned that I'd say something about FedEx, and I've got tons of messages lately about it. I said something the other day. At this point, I just don't use FedEx. It's just that simple. I could go into the details about all of it, but I just don't use it. I know there's people out there who it's very convenient for them to use it. It's not even convenient for me anymore. It used to be because I used to drive right past it on my way to teach every day. But now it doesn't make a difference. And FedEx, you know, upcharging ridiculous amounts for certain things. I hope that stuff gets fixed, but it's been going on for years now, so I'm not holding my breath. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. As always, we appreciate you. Put your experiences below, and we can inform each other, and I can't wait to see you next.